Sin. What do you think of when you hear that word? Shame, isolation, darkness, fear. These feelings are all too common to our human experience. If you don't think so, then let me try to convince you. You're probably not being honest with yourself. Sin is destructive. It's isolating. The greater the sin, the greater the isolation. We feel afraid. We fear rejection, disapproval. It's funny. The thing we fear the most is actually the only pathway forward toward healing. Now that's terrifying. You might be wondering, how is this true? Well, to help answer that question, let me summon some help from a theologian, pastor, author, wannabe best friend of mine. He's a lot smarter than me. This is what he says. To be loved but not known is comforting but superficial. To be known and not loved is our greatest fear. But to be fully known and truly loved is what we need more than anything. That was Pastor Tim Keller. This truth is too big not to stay here for a bit. Let's break it down. See, at the end of that road of fear and rejection and shame is one desire. The desire to be loved. Love. What's tricky about it is without facing up to the darkest, hardest things about yourself, you can't have it. That love will be a counterfeit. So, what's stopping you from getting real love? Risk. Because in order to get real love, you have to risk someone's rejection of you. This one thing is what's more powerful than anything else. For someone to see all of you and to say, I'm staying. That's love. Now, back to this sin thing. What is it? It's an exchange. An exchange of the truth about God for a lie. It's to say, this is where you're going to get fill in the blank. When really, there's only one good source. Now, I know what you're thinking. How does this relate to people? Because this is the point of the whole video, and what I'm hoping you'll see. Christians should be the most authentic, most honest people on the planet. Operative word, should. Christians should have the freedom to share their deepest and darkest struggles with other trusted Christians. And you might be thinking, this has not been your experience. In fact, it may have been the opposite. But here's what we need to begin to understand. Remember that little quote by Pastor Tim Keller? I intentionally left out a little bit to get to this point. To be loved and not known is comforting but superficial. To be known and not loved is our greatest fear. But to be fully known and truly loved is, well, a lot like being loved by God. It is what we need more than anything. Here it is. The freedom of our confession to other Christians is grounded in this singular necessary truth. God, in His love, solves our greatest problem. The love that we're seeking to find in everything else. He says, I'm right here. I'm what you're looking for. And yes, I know everything about you, and yet I'm still choosing to love you. Yet, how can He do this? God is no excuser of sin. Well, yes, it did come at a cost. Jesus Christ came here to earth, lived a perfect life, was sent to the cross. He died the death we should have died. God must punish sin, but He punished Jesus instead. He was our great substitute. He bore the wrath of God deserved for us. He freed us up so that we could be loved by God. Look at the beauty of the cross. This changes everything. This is what Christ in his love has done for us. Now, do you see the radical implications of this? If this is true, don't you see how this should change Christian community, Christian confession? How it should change how honest we are with one another. How it should change our knowledge of our own brokenness and mess and sin, and our knowledge of another's. When your brother or sister in Christ comes humbly and fearfully and shamefully to you in confession, it's actually where you get to stand in the place of Jesus and say, "You're loved. He knew the cost. You're loved." That's the power for change. The truth is, when we act as Jesus and intend to fully know and truly love others, it's just a shadow, a picture of the one who knows how to do it perfectly. Of Jesus, who fully knows and truly loves us. And if we are his, will never reject us. That's the power for life. That's the power for change. That's the gospel of Jesus Christ.